I've built and sold 5 startup companies so far, all emerging tech, a couple of telecom related companies, a Node.js platform as a service company, an IoT company, and most recently, recently, 4 years ago, I built and sold a decentralized supercomputing platform startup to MagicLeap. So I've been living in the metaverse, MagicLeap's version of the metaverse, Magicverse, for about 4 years now. So the term has recently become popular, but and growing more and more popular. You guys have seen all the news from Facebook transitioning to become a metaverse company. I think they're going to drop $10 billion into this new metaverse division. You've heard Microsoft talking about it. So I thought it would be good timing to kind of bring everyone else up to speed on what is the metaverse. And I've got some ideas and some hacks and some fun things to show you what I've been experimenting with. But that's my handle at Chris Matthieu on pretty much all the social media platforms. So feel free to follow me or hit me up with questions there. Take note, the last name is spelled, I'm French, it's spelled a little differently, IEU. So let's get started. What is the metaverse? Well, Neil Stevenson. I've had the pleasure of working with Neil Stevenson at MagicLeap. He was an employee at MagicLeap. I think we called him the chief wizard novelist. He wrote a book called Snow Crash back in 1992, a long time ago, that pretty much all the credit of the metaverse as we know it today is described by Neil in this book. If you haven't read it, I would certainly recommend reading it. It's entertaining, it's fiction, and there's a lot of the beginnings of what this metaverse is as Neil described it. And by the way, Neil is really into swords and medieval weapons, so that's what's behind him. And as you notice, the main character has a ninja sword in the story, so that's just inside information. Also, really interesting to note is that Snow Crash inspired Ready Player One. So if you have watched Ready Player One, probably most of you have. I've watched it dozens and dozens of times. The Oasis is built on as a concept of the metaverse, at least a VR concept. Virtual reality components and augmented reality components here that I'm going to mention here in a minute. But the combined VR and AR, the industry calls XR, like extended reality, where it doesn't differentiate between virtual and augmented reality. But we'll get into that more. So the 2 years I was at MagicLeap, I spent a lot of time inside of Neil's head. And I also worked for a gentleman there named John Gaeta, who's won Academy Awards for inventing bullet time in the Matrix. So you combine those two thought leaders, and this is something what comes out of it. And in this image, you can kind of just notice that there's a lot of translucent looking images floating around, like those stingrays floating around in the sky. If you look a little closer, oh, so by the way, those stingray, like everything translucent in here, is what theoretically you would see in the real world, like walking down in downtown in New York or downtown LA. If you're wearing MagicLeap or HoloLens glasses or the soon to hit the market Apple glasses, you would see all of these augmented reality components floating around in the real world. And everyone, by the way, would see the exact same items. If you look at the translucent people in this image, these are people that came in VR. They've teleported in VR from maybe my home in Phoenix, Arizona, into LA. So you're seeing me as a hologram or holoport, if you will, walking around the real world. But we see you, you see me, and we all see the translucent things floating around. So that's the bigger version of where we're going with the metaverse as a whole. But before we get there, it's a land grab. It's a race for what I call the megaverses. You heard me mention Facebook doubling down, renaming their company. I think we find on Thursday what the new name is. But and the $10 billion they're investing into the metaverse. They are the owners of Oculus. That's my favorite VR headset. If you don't own any VR headsets, I strongly recommend the Oculus Quest, and I'm not paid to endorse it. But it's a $300 device. It doesn't require any sensors in the house. Everything's Wi-Fi built into just that set of goggles and two hand controllers, which they've made so much advancements in that product. It's got pass-through vision. You don't even need hand controllers anymore. It sees your hands, recognizes your hands. So at the bottom of that image is I guess the metaverse version of Facebook. It's called Horizon, Facebook Horizon. I have an alpha invite for that. I'm in that at least once a week playing around. And then impressively, this Horizon Workrooms. It is virtual conferencing for both 2D and 3D participants. And in 3D, it can actually recognize your Mac or your PC in front of you, and as with paths through, see your keyboard and give you a big monitor to type, so you can share your screen. You're working at a table with colleagues. You see their translucent looking little laptop displays. That's physically where they have the display on the table in front of them. So if you haven't tried that, I would strongly recommend it. They're making a ton of advancements inside of VR in these environments. But I want to point out the megaverses are all closed gardens. They're all like walled gardens, closed ecosystems, closed platforms. So you've got to log in with your Facebook credentials to even use the Oculus. So we're gonna get into the importance of why that is or is not necessary. Microsoft has also gone on record as wanting to be the metaverse for their enterprise. So very very much business centric. Microsoft is the inventor of the HoloLens. That's a Magic competitive device. Apple Glass competitive device. It's AR, augmented reality now, but word is they might even be working on some VR technologies, because they did make investments in AltSpace VR. That's kind of like Microsoft's version of Horizon. Works on PCs and VR devices. And of course, Minecraft. A lot of people kind of forgot about that acquisition, but they do own Minecraft as well. So Microsoft is doing some very interesting things in the XR space. But also, again, walled gardens. Epic Games and the Fortnite platform. This is probably the largest, from a population perspective, metaverse, if you will, on the planet today. So you might have heard of the Marshmallow concert that was held in Fortnite a while back. It had 10.7 million people attend that concert in Fortnite. And then Travis Scott more recently, 12.3 million people attended that concert in Fortnite. Again, walled gardens, but amazing technologies, kind of what these virtual worlds are starting to look like. Well, what does the metaverse mean to me? Like what do I think of when I hear of the metaverse at large? Because I kind of shared with you Neil Stephenson's idea. His idea was very open. Like if you read Snow Crash, it was an open metaverse without walled gardens. Anyone could holoport there, teleport to the space, and eventually, as we've added, with the Magicverse vision, AR to the world, then the real world becomes the actual open metaverse. But what I look at is the real basic fundamentals of what is the metaverse. You can look at it as this. I look at it as from the beginning of the web has been trapped in 2D displays. The metaverse is really just freeing the web from the displays, transitioning into basically a three-dimensional web. There's a lot to unpack there, because then you can start thinking about the spatial web. Like, if I walk outside, what does Google search look like without the search box? What does Instagram look like without an app? Well, think about, just things starting to appear in the real world, and think about things that, if my world's not as interesting, say here in Phoenix, as it is in say Anaheim, like Disneyland, I could maybe teleport or holoport to Disneyland and experience what people are experiencing there from a virtual perspective. So that's kind of where all this is going to. To accomplish that, there's a lot of framework and a lot of open source technologies at play here. These are kind of the big ones. 3JS is a whole framework that just rolls up into like one 3JS file that you can put in a web browser, and that gives people with web browsers the ability to access 3D content in mobile web browsers, desktop web browsers, even in device. So if you have an Oculus or say a MagicLeap headset, and you view one of these metaverse sites in the web browser, there's a little VR icon in the bottom right of the browser. You click it, and it goes full 360-degree immersive view. So the flat display inside of VR on the big screen turns into a three-dimensional immersive space that you're in automatically without downloading an app. So the web is as you know, is open, a lot of open source technology that allows anyone to participate regardless of device that they're on. So on top of that 3JS library are these two other really cool frameworks. A-Frame is owned by, or is open source, but it's contributed to by Mozilla, the Firefox people. And it was primarily created for Mozilla Hubs. So if you've ever used Mozilla Hubs, you're using A-Frame. But it's basically kind of like an XML markup on top of 3JS that makes it really easy to build these kind of three-dimensional worlds with very little code. And Babylon is very similar. Babylon is maintained by Microsoft. So you've kind of got some choice there. So now we're getting into some of the interesting things that I'm experimenting with. So I mentioned earlier GroupRoom.io. I've been dabbling with this idea of what's next, like, what's after Zoom, Teams, WebEx, etc. And I've been playing with this idea of spatially aware video chat or proximity-based video chat. So whether it's 2D or 3D, you get this little bubble, this little video bubble, and as you move around the space, kind of like a game, but it could be your office environment, it could be a conference hall, could be the beach. As you move closer to other video bubbles, you start hearing people near you, just like in real life. And you might see people, over there, but you can't hear them. Just like in real life, you have to go over there if you want to hear what they're saying or say hello. So I've been playing with GroupRoom.io, 2D and 3D, and then I started thinking about, well, what does this mean with the future of the web? Like seeing 2D web turn into thinking that when you go to a website in the future, say like bestbuy.com, maybe you'll have the option of just browsing the website like you do today and purchasing a laptop like you do today. Or maybe with one line of code, we could embed this new metaverses.io idea of mine that would automatically put a 3D space into your existing website, kind of like this. So I do have a real quick little demo I wanted to share with you. So let me get out of that. Let me go into this. Cool. So now you might be seeing two of me. I've cloned myself. It's a little scary thought, but I'm basically inside of a 3D world. That's a really big world. Like this is an office space, with the reception desk right there. But I could just as easily, maybe walk outside of the office, and now I'm in this mega looking city, if you will, where there might be thousands of other people walking around this metaverse I've created here for this demo site. But that's not really what I want to show you. What I really want to show you is that this is basically an iframe inside of an existing website. So if you notice, like there's the logo of the website, there's the navigation of the website. So if I go to the about, look at this. So this is like the rest of your like the rest of the Best Buy website, if you will, where you can go through, shop, what you want. But if you scroll back up to the top, we've never left the metaverse. So what I'm thinking is that this could be potentially sales agents maybe walking around inside of an actual Best Buy store, and just like maybe sales agents would move around different departments within the store. Maybe someone like the Geek Squad could move around to different areas of the metaverse space of the 3D world. So maybe answering support questions or sales questions inside of that. So it's kind of interesting. I'm really excited kind of how this is evolving, and best of all, blurring the line, I think, between a website and a web space. Or maybe this was the original intention of the word cyberspace in the beginning. I don't know, but I'm seeing a lot of this. So if you are grasping like half of what I'm explaining, you'll see why the metaverse is going to be as so big as Facebook and Microsoft think it's going to be. Like if the 2D web all of a sudden overnight becomes the 3D web, and they could own a big stake in how people interact and navigate, and horizons and alt space, now there's a lot of ecosystem that they own, and they're hoping they do the heavy lifting for you. And what I'm saying is that there's enough open source tools out there, like here, like I showed you on this other site, A-Frame and Babylon and 3GS, where we all can build this type of tech without the big walled gardens. So that's what I'm excited about. I wanted to just point out a couple of more things. So I don't know if you've been following all the crypto NFT buzz, but it's only getting bigger. Lots and lots of more crypto buzz, NFT buzz coming around. You might have seen some news maybe a year ago of an architect building a 3D mansion, basically a 3D model, GLTF type mansion for $500,000. So someone literally paid $500,000 for a 3D asset, a 3D mansion. And it kind of, it validated something to me. I think a lot of the world kind of scratched their head and said, WTF. But it validated something to me, that as the web becomes 3D, I think we're all going to want metaverses that we can work in as well as play in. And what I was thinking this validated is everyone's going to want, like you want a cool web page, a website, everyone's going to want, an original web space, a cool web space. And and this one was pretty amazing. Like you've got, if you do a little bit more research about this article, you'll see that it's a giant mansion with lots of living space that you could invite, maybe hundreds of friends over to hang out, watch movies with you inside of this metaverse space, and somewhere to call your own. So I think we're going to see a lot more spaces sold as NFTs, and they're original. So I think it was a good investment. So metaverses.io is what I just showed you. It's free, for like up to 10 users to move around. You can pay a little extra and get up to 50 people per space. You can link multiple spaces together, where you could have lots of different, rooms in your mansion, if you will. So have a go at it, metaverses.io. I'd love to know what you think. And creating a verse, well, first of all, there's an explore button where you can explore a lot of metaverses that people have created, or a lot of verses, I should say, that people have created. Or you can create your own. And to create your own, you just create a verse. I've basically JSONified, if you will, the A-frame markup language. So you can just take, an A-frame looking space, download a 3D model off of Sketchfab. A lot of those are for free. I've got some good blog posts around like haunted cemeteries for Halloween. You can invite your friends and family or coworkers in that are like 3D spaces in a scary graveyard. But one thing that Metaverses adds that's outside of the scope of A-frame is the ability to put HTML content inside of your metaverse. So things like videos or creepy audio feeds or streaming audio or video, or like divs, or that whiteboards, or things that are basically web apps inside of the 3D space. You can encapsulate in this embeds link there. So what's next? I know I'm getting close to my 25-minute allotment. So what's next? This is the last slide. I see a lot of opportunity for crypto. Like, that market's just going up, but being able to buy and sell things inside of your metaverse, I think, are very interesting. Decentralization, this not living on a server in a cloud, where it's all peer-to-peer. I think there's a lot of interesting momentum there. I mentioned earlier in the beginning, like bringing augmented reality and virtual reality together. So like this metaverses.io does run what's considered WebXR. WebXR is a open protocol for the web. So it runs in mobile devices, desktops, and inside of Oculus and Vive for VR, and MagicLeap and HoloLens for AR. So that's pretty cool. But I know a lot of folks here. It's a big telecom community. So think of WebRTC at web scale. Think of how do you scale WebRTC to thousands of people? And we've got a branch of logic in metaverses.io that does just that. And it's kind of built on dynamic peer groups that, as you get closer together, they dynamically form new WebRTC groups, if you will. So you could potentially have thousands of people in a space running all peer-to-peer audio and video. So I'm super excited where that's going. And whoo, I did it. Let me get out of all this and stop sharing my screen and look to questions and answers. Or maybe I'm looking for you to give me questions and I'll try to answer your questions.
Okay, great, let's Chris.
See. Oh, thank you. You're too
so
kind.
Much. We did get a question in virtual, it looks like. How is spatial audio handled in GroupRoom?
Yeah, so there's a lot of exciting things coming around spatial audio. Today, GroupRoom is only handling distance, like as a volume property for spatial audio. So I kind of have like this. I think I'm using like 6 meters. I think as my too far away to hear anymore. But as you move closer, the volume gets louder. As you move away, it gets softer until you hit that 6 meter range, and then you don't hear them at all. But true spatial audio is what I still need to address, and that's the true 360 degree, even up and below. Like, where is the voice coming from? Is the avatar like to my backside of my head to my right? The audio should sound like that. So that's coming next.
Hey, baby steps, but this is such a cool thing. The way you're able to combine AR and VR into this really awesome environment to really do just about whatever you want to do. That's really awesome. We're going to take a moment and see if there are any questions remaining from either virtual or in person. Don't everybody go at once.
I see there's a question from DK. There's how do you see P2P scaling to thousands of concurrent users? So that's a great question. That's what I'm working on right this minute. Right now, like if you're in a big metaverse space, you see everyone's live video, and you just don't hear the audio unless you get close to them. That's because I'm using Twilio for that right now. So I'm using their media servers, but to scale WebRTC, and the free version of Metaverse is all pure WebRTC. So I did write all of my own signaling for that. That's why I limit it to 10 users on the free side. But to get to thousands, here's what it's going to look like. Instead of seeing their videos all the time, you're going to see just their avatar as they're moving around. So Metaverses has like an MMO, if you will, a platform that's built on top of IoT protocols instead of like WebSockets. So it's using MQTT, which can scale to like billions of devices. But you're going to just see their avatar moving around, and as their spatial hash gets close enough to you, it'll dynamically create that WebEx room style where you'll automatically see their avatar shift to video, and then you'll automatically start dealing with spatial audio as those peers sync up. So the only thing I'm working on now, I've got all that figured out, is the piece where to make it from a UX perspective. How do you prevent more than say 10 or 12 people joining a small little huddle, if you will, in a on the floor of a conference center?
Awesome. Well, everybody give a round of applause for Chris, the man, the myth, the mustache.
Thank you. You all are too kind.